Thanks very much, David. As David mentioned, Brother Eddie is in college today. He's come down unwell all the week and he's in isolation. So I'll read a statement from him in a moment. But as David said, as Senior Deputy State Chairman, I've had to step up. Hopefully you can't throw any bricks at me when you're expecting Eddie. But it's very unfortunate that he could not be here for the 100-year celebration. We also had Michael Hart step in for Father Tom Casey. And tonight at the dinner, Bishop Ken Howe is also indisposed, and Father Dan Ryan is going to launch the history for us. So he's an apology from the Bishop as well. But as far as we know at this stage, Archbishop Mark will be celebrating Mass for us at 6 o'clock. Father Tom is our beloved State Chaplain, and he regrets that due to unforeseen circumstances he's unable to attend. He asks us to accept his sincere apologies. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Father Tom for his spiritual and emotional support for us over the last couple of years. He took over from Father Aidan Cargill as the State Chaplain a couple of years ago, and I think he's done a tremendous job. And for those that went to Founders Day Mass last year, you realise how much effort he puts in. And he's also been offering a weekly Mass for deceased members of the order, so which is very good. And anybody that wants to go to that at any stage, you're most welcome at Dorrington on Monday afternoon. He has written the paper for us, which he was going to present, and Michael Hart has kindly accepted to read that paper for you. So it's called Amazing Grace. So we thank Father Tom. I'll now just read, for those of you last night, you did hear it, but I've got a statement from Brother Eddie somewhere. I had one here. But a lot of space around there. Greetings, brothers, wives and guests. A very warm welcome to all of you. Congratulations on successfully arriving at these celebrations. Some of us, mainly because of COVID, have not been able to arrive and are feeling devastated. And from State Council alone, we've got Father Tom Casey, our State Chaplain, Brother Vince Branhan, Brother Neil Nolan, Brother John Kapinski, Brother Gregg Wallace, Brother Nellen Fernando, and obviously Eddie. Personally, I feel like Moses wandering in the desert, never destined to reach the promised land. However, we're all certain this celebration will be a huge success. I want to thank everybody involved who has stepped up to mark, to assist in planning and organising these centenary celebrations. Thank you. May the Holy Spirit inspire us in every thought, word and action throughout the conference. God bless you all. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, Eddie and Maud. And I spoke to Eddie this morning on the way in, and he wishes you all the best, and wish he was here, but he's keeping a safe distance from us. Now, we have a number of apologies, and I asked Brother Kevin to read those apologies, and then we'll take any apologies from the floor.
Archbishop Mark Coleridge, Auxiliary Bishop Brian Finnegan, Monsignor John Grace, Bishop Robert McGugan, Bishop Tim Norton, Bishop Max Davis, Father Aidan Cargill, Father Tom Casey, Eddie and Moy Radke, Vincent and Elaine Granahan, Don Campbell, Terry Bennett, Neville Wells, Neville Bush, Thomas Noonan, Pam McCarthy, and Neil Muir.
Any other apologies? Yes.
Stephen Bale, the Chairman of Bundy.
Malcolm Hughes, Chair, Branch 88.
Ralph Rowan.
Yeah.
Tom Hodgson from Central.
Yeah.
Governor Chris Ryder from Secretary of Branch 1.
Yeah.
Ross Gigetti, District Chairman of Hingham Council, and Des Lizzie, Chairman of Branch 26.
Thank you.
Gentlemen,
Others?
I'm supposed to be taking the minutes for this, so for those who offered apologies, if you could come up to me afterwards so that I can make sure they're properly recorded in the minutes. Thank you.
Any other apologies? Was Brother Terry Bennett in there?
One for Kevin.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome you all to the conference, and in so doing, I'd like to acknowledge some of the people here. And first of all, some of you may not have met Mike Cassidy. I'll ask him just to stand for a second. Brother Mike was a past national president of the order, and he's recently come to Queensland. He's seen the light, and left the shores outside of Canberra, and he's now joined us. So he's a past national president of the order from I think about in the late 1990s. Right. So thank you. Past state chairman we've got Aidan Gaffney, Don Neander, and David Jeffries. We've also got brothers Ian Fleetwood, National Secretary. Thank you, Ian, for coming. Paul Mitchell, he's the chairman of Victoria. Frank Duff, the Supreme Knight Award recipient from New South Wales. John Hennessy, National Water Development Officer. Carmen Miranda, former State Chairman of Victoria. And Andrew Ficaro, who's the current Victorian State Secretary, and he's doing our video for us. So thank you, Andrew. Also acknowledge our major sponsors, and as you know, Cross Care has been very kind in sponsoring this. And tonight we've got the book launch of the history, so I'd like to thank Francis and Jason especially, the two of them, for sponsoring us this conference. Otherwise we wouldn't be able to be in this room. I'd also like to thank our other sponsors, Ord Manette, Archdiocese Development Fund, Holy Cross Funerals, and the Gleason family. And we do thank them for their generosity. Also, I'd like to thank all the branches for their generosity in assisting and sponsoring our celebrations. And a lot of branch members can't be here for various reasons, but the total assistance we got from branches is phenomenal. Don Campbell was mentioned in the apologies, and Don's the current chairman of the Knights in South Australia, and due to ill health, he's advised not to travel. So you take our best wishes back, please, Ian.
Will do.
Now, and for those that are here, thank you very much for making that effort and coming. And I'll also acknowledge that Josephine Stevens is with us, and it's the first time I think in history of the Knights we've had a lady in the room. But Josephine, stand up please. I think most people have seen you.
Couldn't we work it out?
But Josephine's come to observe us. She's been on the board of Cross Care now for about nearly 9 years.
Nearly, yeah.
And was treasurer when we were an incorporated association, and now she's in charge of the finance and governance committee.
And you can thank Mike Cassidy for being my referee when I went for my
That's
interview.
right. Yes. There was a bit of a hold up. She was working in Canberra and moved to Harvey Bay. And we had a number of good candidates. But I saw Mike Cassidy as referee, and I thought he's not going to give a good reference to anybody that doesn't deserve it. So we waited for Josephine to be able to attended an interview, and then she came onto the board and been re-elected a number of times since. Welcome.
Welcome.
Now, just a little bit of housekeeping to start with. Remind all members that everyone is entitled to a state to have a say at a state conference. Delegates are the only ones that may vote. That's the branch delegates and the state councillors. And I ask those that are asking questions to please identify yourself for the aid of the minute taker, and at all times be respectful towards the speakers who've given up their valuable time to be here today. We won't always agree with everything that's said. Okay, that's good because we have debate, but please be respectful. State Chairman's report is included in the conference booklet on page 33, and if any questions on that, I'll take that later, but I don't intend to read that. That was given at the AGM in December, and it's available for you. I'll refer you to the conference introduction on page 3, and since I came in late, I have read that and I'll paraphrase some of that for you. The theme of the conference is 100 Years of Catholic Fraternal Service, and our objectives for the conference twofold: to celebrate the past 100 years. You got a booklet there, Josephine? No.
David, did you get one?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Just to celebrate the past 100 years and explore the way forward entering the next century of service. I think that's very important. We do want to celebrate the past, but we also want to be able to move forward from here. And because life has changed, the environment has changed. Summarise our history by a number of key activities. And I'll just go through a few of these. I'll do the same thing tonight, so it might bore you a little bit, but there'll be a lot of people there tonight that's not here today. The identity of the order was first established on the basis of mutual aid and cooperation. Its efforts were directed mainly at preserving the heritage of our faith and protecting our people, as far as possible from discrimination. And it's interesting that I sometimes told somebody this story that when I was working in the mid-70s down in Tasmania, I got appointed to a position as a rotational engineer, and we had to go through a selection process. And first day back at work after one of my children were born, I had to go and see my boss, and I stood there in his office for 20 minutes, him telling me that I wasn't wanted by him, and I wasn't his choice. So that was all right. So I went back to this department I was working with and worked, and quite a few people came and asked me, you know, why don't you go to lunch on a Friday? I said, I kick with the left foot, not the right foot. Because the other 12 engineers in the group all went to the Masonic pub for lunch on Friday. Fortunately, I was aware of these things, so I knew that that might happen. Some years later, his son came through. I was able to help him because he was giving a bit of a hard time. And from then on, his father used to come into my office and have a chat with me. So I think this proves what the Knights were trying to do all those years ago. That discrimination is now going. Not as bad as some people thought we would. Just the pursuit of equality in education, the formation of the Federation of Parents and Friends Association, which was formed by the Knights and then handed off via initially the Knights Council was formed, and then it went back and became an independent operation. And Jack Woodward, the former past State Secretary, was responsible for a lot of that hard work to get the Parents Friends going. It was migrant Aboriginal advocacy and assistance commenced in the 1940s. We continue that today, and especially through AREMA, which is a migrant assistance people in the Sunnybank parish. And our brother Kevin can speak if anyone wants to know about them. Brother Kevin can help. Career nights and talks and trade training initiatives, all different nights initiatives. And I know, again, in the 60s I became an engineer because somebody from the Knights, I didn't know who was from the Knights, came to my Christian Brothers School in Hobart and spoke about engineering. And I ended up being an engineer. In the late 60s, the efforts to start Southern Cross Care commenced. And you'll hear tonight that it was 1979 when our first home was opened. 12 years of persistence, hard work, a lot of setbacks, but it happened. And now we say that we're a well-respected provider Australian-wide, and I think that's a great initiative. And until you read about it, you don't really understand all the barriers that happen. Recent years' efforts have been mainly around branch-initiated projects and state guidance and participation. Many start-up charity organisations have been assisted in embryonic stage. I think that's one thing we do very well. And these include Pregnancy Crisis that started up about 10 years ago. And we were one of the first, and no, Branch 11 did a lot of work with them. Branch 1 was I was in those days, and we still do. And Veterans Care, Deacon Gary Starr commenced that to help provide better service to ex-forces people. And I happened to be walking around the streets with a dog, and he was walking around the streets with a dog in the Gap one day, and ran into him, we had a chat. He said he's trying to set up this Veterans Care. And I said, well, what can we do to help you? So a couple of weeks later, we gave him $300 to get started, and he had a draft brochure. I took it in head office, and we ran off a few hundred copies of the brochure for him. And we've done a lot of things since, fundraising and other assistance. And he's got grants from our National Charities Trust. So little things like that, I think, are great initiatives. And that was done through Branch 1. So, and others have then taken it up. So the Military Ordinary has been a national state-based project, and a national and state-based. And we help with the training of chaplains. And each year, the National Charities Trust provides a grant towards that. We've held dinners at the state levels here and elsewhere. And we also have our prayer crusade each year aimed at getting new priests, but especially for the military. And Bishop Max Davis, our former national chaplain, told us a story that he was on one of the Australian ships going into the Middle East. And this must have been about 20 years ago at least. And there was about copping about 165 or something like that. And he said that about 45 Catholics. And as they were prepared to go into the war zone, he said that he was about, he said Mass, and he said he was available for confessions. he heard over 100 confessions. So one of the things we did then was to go and look at his approval and ADF approval is to provide a military prayer book. Somebody in the room would remember it. And that was become a national project, which the state participated in. And we raised, for the first lot, $20,000, having printed on special paper, so it fits a certain size, goes in the book. And then they put the top pocket, the book will fit in the top pocket. And the forecast will last enough, about 12, 14 years. They're all gone within 6 years. Then we had a bit of a hold up, the new translations, and then we raised another $30,000 to $40,000 and got a new edition done. So these are practical things that people want. And I was going through my father-in-law's things only a couple of weeks ago. He died 5 or 6 years ago. I found a published print book of his in his things we never knew it was there. World War One. Oh, II, sorry, World War II. And so people do appreciate these things. And these are practical things that Knights have done in the last 100 years, just to give some examples. So there's a larger list on page 7 of the Centenary magazine, which we launched last night, and I commend that to you. They're available outside for $10. And again, I'd like to thank the branches. It is history more around what the branches do. There's a little bit of state things in it. But I'd like to thank David Jeffries and Maureen Barley, who will be there tonight, and did all the work, going through our archives, talking to branches, getting submissions. And as you know, submission comes in, some are handwritten, most are done on a computer, but all in different fonts or different styles, and they put all this together, so it's a marvellous I think, record of to celebrate 100 years. Now, the other thing that I will commend to you is our formation program. And in the last few years, we've actually made it more visible, and we've produced this nice booklet each time. They were done by Bishop Max for a number of years. And then now Bishop Tomlinson, who's recently retired from Victoria, he's now been appointed by the Bishops' Conference as our new national chaplain. And the chaplain will prepare this and circulate to all the states in PDF format. And we take it and Stan, Tara over here, he designs cover in conjunction with David Jeffries, and he prints it all. And so thanks Stan, for doing this for a number of years now. And if you don't get copies available, available outside for $4, but some branches buy them for the members and use that as their formation. I think that's a very strong part of keeping that Catholic faith. So I commend that to you. New South Wales has now taken us up on this, and we also provide copies for their members and send it out to them when they send us the list. So I think that's a very important part of what we do. Now, as I said before, we're now challenged to special call to use our time and best endeavours to foster the Christian way of life in our country. If we are to preserve this heritage for the next generations, we as Catholic men must continue to stand tall against those who remove God and his teachings from our society. And this yoke rests on our shoulders and is a challenge to all of us. And I think that the difference now from when the Knights started 100 years ago was Protestant against Catholic, Catholic against Protestant. Now, all Christians have been challenged by people wanting to remove Christianity from history and from our society. So there's still a need for people like us to work hard in the background to make sure that that doesn't occur. I'll now ask Michael Hart to present our State Chaplain, Father Tom Kessie's paper, Amazing Grace, being a knight is a visible display of men living without faith. So thank you, and I'll declare the conference over.